Morning M5. Today I'd like to talk about some idioms. Idioms that use anatomy and the body in context and for sentence structure. Idioms that use anatomy, parts of the body. For example, number 1, to be all ears. To be all ears. And number 2, bite your tongue. Bite your tongue. Those are just examples for the introduction. Idioms that use anatomy, vocabulary, parts of the body. Okay, let's just warm up by starting to name some parts of the body. So, A, everyone knows this one. Hair. Hair. B, this part of the body here. Neck. Neck. C, this part of the body sometimes whenever I ask the students in the class, nobody knows what this is. At the end of the forearm, right on the end of your forearm, is elbow. Elbow. D, here. Around this you tie your belt, your waist. D is waist. E, E. In the middle of the leg, halfway down, you have your knee. Knee, 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 knee. E is knee. And F, just located along the foot, just above the heel. On the side of your foot, you have your ankle. Ankle. Very similar to your elbow here, halfway up your arm, but just along the base of the foot, above the heel, you have F, your ankle. Ankle. So this next slide asks the question, do you know idioms using parts of the body? How many idioms do you think you know using parts of the body? I'm all ears, or by heart. Let's have a look at the rest of the slides. So M5, can you guess the meaning of these idioms from the picture here? James screamed at the top of his lungs, but I don't know if he was angry or frightened. So have a look at the picture. Here's James screaming his head off. James screamed at the top of his lungs, but I don't know if he was angry or frightened. And B, picture 2, she always has butterflies in her stomach. She always has butterflies in her stomach before she gives a presentation in front of a large group of people. So A, James screamed at the top of his lungs. At the top of his lungs means to scream or shout or yell very, very loudly. Just to scream or shout or yell very loudly. And the next one, picture B, to have butterflies in your stomach. Have butterflies in her stomach. It means to feel very, very nervous or uncomfortable about something that you have to do. So B, she has butterflies in her stomach before she gives a presentation. She's very, very nervous about the presentation she has to give in front of a large group of people. Okay, and moving on. Next one. I'm so glad I finally told you the truth. It feels good to get it off my chest. I'm so glad I finally told you the truth. It feels good to get it off my chest. And B, she spent all night studying for the test. She knew every word on the vocabulary list by heart. She spent all night studying for the test. She knew every word on the vocabulary list by heart. So what does it mean to get it off my chest? To get something off your chest. It means to say or disclose something, that you were previously guarding as a secret. To say or disclose something that you were previously guarding as a secret. And the next one, she knew every word on the vocabulary list by heart. What does by heart mean? By heart is the idiom of the body. By heart means to memorize information. She memorized the list by heart. She knew every word on the list. She could recite every word quite easily. She knew the vocabulary list by heart. So here we have an exercise where we have to use those 4 idioms in context. We have to create a sentence about each of the 4 idioms from the previous slides. At the top of one's lungs means to scream as loud as you can. Get something off one's chest, to talk about something that has been bothering you, and to know something by heart, just to memorize your vocabulary for your English test, to memorize information. And the next one, have butterflies in one's stomach, is to be very nervous. Have butterflies in one's stomach, to be very nervous. So, picture A here. If we create a sentence using at the top of one's lungs, she screamed to her son at the top of her lungs. She screamed to her son at the top of her lungs. We normally use the verbs scream, yell, and shout with this idiom. Scream, yell, and shout are all okay. They're all acceptable with the use of this idiom. And the next one, B. Create a sentence using get something off one's chest when you talk about something. So B, she felt happy to get that secret off her chest. She's talking with her friend here. They're having a conversation, possibly in private. She felt happy to get that secret off her chest. She felt happy to get that secret off her chest. And C, memorize something, memorize information, to know something by heart. So C, my sentence, he was memorizing the maths formula by heart for the examination. My sentence, C, he was memorizing the maths formula by heart for the examination. And D, what are they doing here? Have butterflies in one's stomach. They all look very nervous. To have butterflies in one's stomach, it means to be very nervous. The candidates had butterflies in their stomach before the interview. They're waiting for their interview. The candidates had butterflies in their stomach before the interview. So this next slide, I'd like you to guess. What do you think the meaning of this is? You've got some feet here in some water, like you're paddling your feet in a river or a stream, or you're just washing your feet in a bowl of water. And this one, 2 fingers look like they're in the cross position. We have that symbol a lot on the emoji stickers, like this. So what can this mean? Guess the meaning from the context of the picture. He was afraid of flying, but he booked a flight anyway. The day of the flight, he got cold feet and decided to stay at home. Huh? What can that mean? The day of the flight, he got cold feet and he decided to stay at home. And B, I bought a lottery ticket at the gas station. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that it has the winning numbers. I bought a lottery ticket at the gas station, or at the petrol station. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that it has the winning numbers. So, somebody that got cold feet. It just means to get very nervous. about an action or an event or a situation coming. He booked his flight, but he was afraid. He got cold feet. To get cold feet is very similar to have butterflies in your stomach. However, if you get cold feet, usually you do not do what you planned. Usually, if you get cold feet, you do not go ahead with what you had scheduled to do, what you had planned. Have you ever had cold feet? What were you planning to do, and why didn't you do it? Because you got cold feet. So keeping your fingers crossed simply means hoping for good luck. We always do this. I buy a lottery ticket and I cross my fingers. Oh, I hope one day I will win the lottery, and I cross my fingers. So it just means you're hoping for good luck. What do people keep their fingers crossed for? For example, do you keep your fingers crossed for good exam results? Do you keep your fingers crossed for a safe flight? Or how about the weather? Do you keep your fingers crossed when you have an activity scheduled outside, a temple event or a party? You're hoping for good weather. You keep your fingers crossed. So, again, can we guess the meaning of the next two from the context? I know that you know a lot about sociology. Do you mind if I pick your brain for a bit? I know that you know a lot about sociology. Do you mind if I pick your brain for a bit? And the next one, B. He quit his teaching job because his heart wasn't in it anymore. He quit his teaching job because his heart wasn't in it anymore. So, A. To pick your brain, what does it mean? It just simply means to ask questions about something. To ask questions about something. And B. He quit his teaching job because his heart wasn't in it. It simply means to no longer feel any passion for something. So this gentleman is giving up his teaching job because he no longer has any passion for teaching. Okay, so let's create a sentence for each idiom. This picture, as we know, as you can see, to keep one's fingers crossed just means to hope for good luck. So, a sentence. He kept his fingers crossed that he would win the lottery. Example sentence. He kept his fingers crossed that he would win the lottery. And B. This picture indicates someone's having a chat. To pick someone's brain about something, to try to glean information from someone who has knowledge. So an example sentence would be, she picked her professor's brain before she began her essay. She picked her professor's brain before she began her essay. And the next one, to get cold feet, just to feel frightened about doing something that's planned, and actually you don't go ahead and do it. So an example sentence could be, she got cold feet on the day she was supposed to go bungee jumping. She got cold feet on the day she was supposed to go bungee jumping. And the next one, D, when your heart is not in something. When your heart is not in something, you lose enthusiasm. You're not interested in something anymore. You have no passion for that thing that you're going to do anymore, your job or your hobby. So an example sentence would be, his heart was no longer in his math studies. His heart was no longer in his math studies. Or, his heart was no longer in his English studies. Two more here. Guess the meaning from the context. A. We got into a fight a few days ago, and she has been giving me the cold shoulder ever since. We got into a fight a few days ago, and she has been giving me the cold shoulder ever since. Cold shoulder means not to talk to someone that you are upset with. Not to talk to someone that you are upset with. Okay, that's the end of the first video on idioms of the body. Thank you.